Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, ladies and gentlemen. No matter what time of the day it is that you're taking time out of your day to listen to this, this is the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. My name is Steve Smith, and I'm your host. Welcome one, welcome all. Hope you are having an absolutely cracking time, no matter where you are or what you're up to. No doubt, with any luck, you have had a fantastic day, and I can tell you, thankfully, today is just going to get a little bit better now that you've joined us. So thank you very much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, today's episode is another episode of John Deere Golf, Keeper of the Greens. And if you're not sure, that is the segment of the podcast where I travel around all over Australia, sometimes virtually over the phone and sometimes in person. And I travel around catching up with other greenkeepers or golf course superintendents and talk to them about their careers as greenkeepers, where they've come from, how they've got to where they are today, and then we dive into the golf courses where they're working just to get a bit of a feel of what they're up to, what the golf courses are like if you were to go and play there, and what goes into maintaining, a bit of behind-the-scenes look into what goes into maintaining particular golf courses right around Australia. Now, this one was an in-person interview. I hit the road just a few days ago and took a 4-hour drive west of Sydney out into the central west of New South Wales to the small country town in the wine region of Mudgee in New South Wales. Now, Mudgee is a fantastic regional centre and it's wine country out there. So if you've ever been out that way or if you thought about going out that way, Mudgee is a fantastic place to go and take it all in. And also, there's a fantastic golf course out there. So this is an episode of John Deere Golf, Keeper of the Greens. I stopped into Mudgee Golf Club catching up with Superintendent Jason Seis. This is episode number 99. Oh, and hang on, before we get there, the next episode of the podcast is episode 100. And I'm doing something special. So make sure you stay tuned for that one. Make sure you subscribe because you're going to want to hear it. Something a little bit different. There's something special coming. This is episode number 99. Now, don't forget, Keeper of the Green segment of the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast is obviously sponsored by John Deere Golf, wonderful partners of the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast to bring you this segment, Keeper of the Greens. And I've got to just be sure to let you know a little bit about who they are. John Deere Golf are committed to the greenkeeping industry here in Australia. If you want to work better and do your job better, you need to get in touch with the people at John Deere Golf so they can come and help you out and see just what you need and how they'll be able to assist you to do your job better on your golf course and maintaining your turf services. They're proud sponsors of Keeper of the Greens, as I mentioned, and the game relies on your team's passion and professionalism, which is why you can trust John Deere for a wide range of advanced equipment and dedicated support. They've been around since 1987, so they've got a wealth of experience in the industry, and they've built a tradition of trust and excellence on golf courses right around the world. When you work where others play, you need a partner you can trust to keep your course in perfect condition, and John Deere Golf can help you with top quality machines and support, forward-looking technology, and their ongoing commitment to this incredible game. Make sure you check out deere.com.au to find your nearest John Deere dealer, and make sure you hit them up for any questions you might have with machinery that can help you look after your golf course better. They are supporting me, and they will support you. So make sure you hit them up, guys and girls. Check out deere.com.au to find your nearest dealer today. Ladies and gentlemen, I have made a 4-hour drive west of Sydney over the Great Dividing Range and along through some wonderful countryside to, it's the northwest sort of country. It's considered the central west of New South Wales. And I'm in Mudgee. It's a fantastic rural town. It's the home of Doctor, if you've ever watched that TV show, which the wife and I love. It's fantastic, a lot of fun. And look, love Mudgee, great wine region if you know your wines. And look, it's got a hell of a golf course. And I'm here at Mudgee Golf Club. On the other side of the desk in the Greenkeeper's shed is Jason Seis. G'day, Jason.
Steve, how are you, mate?
Not too bad, mate. Thanks for joining me on this podcast. And you're superintendent here at Mudgee Golf Club, mate. We've known each other for quite some time.
We have, yep. It's been a while, hasn't it, mate?
It has been. We had an industry golf day here in 2013 was the last time I came out.
Yep.
And that was 11 years ago. That's scary thought. That's scary. A long time ago. But, mate, it's always good to come out and revisit Mudgee. It's a great part of the world, and I do like the golf course. And we're going to talk about your career as a superintendent, time working here at Mudgee, and where else you've been getting to your role as superintendent here at Mudgee Golf Club, mate. And you're going to share a bit about the golf course and what people can see and experience here playing golf around this fantastic country course.
Sure, good.
Let's get stuck into it. Mate, I'll just fix your mic up there and get that pointed to your mouth a little bit straighter. That's all good as we get used to it. Have you done a podcast before, mate?
Never, mate. This is the first one, so...
I've got to ask. All right, now we're going to start off with Steve's Super 7 questions, mate. Quick fire, bit of fun.
Righto.
Multiple choice, generally speaking. So, let's get stuck into it. Number 1, sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
Sunrise?
Yep.
Good stuff. Number 2, dogs or no dogs allowed on the golf course?
Dogs.
Do you have a dog? Do you have
Not at the moment. No,
Okay.
I lost my Kelpie a few years ago.
Did you? Was it this? That's not the same one that I remember from that
It
long
would have
ago.
been, Tilly, yeah.
Dead set. Wow. What is? Oh, such a good pup.
Yep.
You're going to get another one, do you think?
Yeah, I'm planning on it. Yeah. Probably a border collie, I think, this time.
Good stuff. Number 3, stripes or no stripes on fairways?
Stripes.
Yeah?
Yep.
Good stuff. Number 4, green coloured sand or natural coloured sand to repair divots?
Oh, natural, I think. Yeah.
Yep.
Not in the budget for green coloured sand, mate.
All good. Now, number 5, I always love to hear this one as we travel around the country. Number 5, your favourite grass variety?
Oh. I think probably kike. Kike's easy to look after, so
Yep.
I'd have to
like that?
go with kike, yeah.
I mean, you've got it here, and it looks fantastic. Certainly a beautiful oasis out here in Mudgee with the kike fairways, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. Number 6, your preferred style of golf course. Now, there's a multiple choice one. Cape Wickham. You may not have played them. You might know them, and you may not have ever seen them. But Cape Wickham on King Island in Tassie, Kingston Heath in the Sandbelt of Melbourne, or Elliston on the Barrington Tops in regional New South Wales?
Oh, I haven't played Kingston Heath. I played Royal Melbourne on the Sandbelt, so I'd have to say Kingston Heath.
We'll stick with the Kingston Heath one. Fantastic. And number 7, the final one, mate. If you could walk around but not play any golf course in Australia tomorrow, which one would it be? Just to take it all in.
Oh. Geez, that's a tough
It's
question.
a big question. I know it's a big question. It is a big question. I know it's a big question.
I'd like to have a look at Royal Sydney with the work that Adam's doing down there. So,
yes.
yeah, I'd like to have a look at that.
It's certainly a lot of work going on there. It's going to be fantastic when it's done,
Yep.
but sensational. Well, mate, that's Steve's Super 7. Quick 7 questions, a bit of fun. Everyone will compare that to their own answers.
Yep.
And there's plenty of them going around now, so which is good, which is a bit of fun. Now, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this podcast, mate. We're going to talk about you or learn a little bit about your career or a lot about your career, whichever way you decide to go and tell us. And I know you got a croaky voice. Have you got your water? You got your sexy voice on, mate.
Yeah, I have. No.
You're on the mend from being a bit crook, mate. But I appreciate you coming on. So take us back to the beginning, mate. We just had a look around the golf course. You took me for a drive and you pointed out a silky oak that's down. Is it the third hole?
The third, yes.
And whichever way I'm pointing, I don't even know where I'm pointing.
Yep.
And there was a silky oak. You said you planted that tree when you were in high school and work experience.
Well, I did work experience. Yeah, I planted a tree there, and like I said, I hit it about every second week when I play here. So probably need to cut it down, I think.
So take us back to the beginning, mate. How did you get? You're a Mudgee boy. Locally, are you?
Yeah, originally from Gulgong. So
Gulgong.
my family's been I'll be 5th generation farmers.
5th, did you say?
Yeah, so we've been farming this like in the Midwestern region for a long time.
Wow, that's
50
amazing.
Years. So I grew up in Gulgong. Did my primary school out there,
and that's a bit further north. Is that right?
Yeah, about 30 k's.
Yeah, okay.
North of Mudgee.
Yep.
Did my high schooling in Mudgee.
Yep.
And like I said, I did work experience here as a kid, and I was a keen golfer as a kid as well.
Okay.
So I can remember just playing golf with my mates and just watching the greenkeepers do their work, and
yeah,
it was when I first sort of started paying attention to mowing the greens and just preparing the course and started to appreciate it and had a bit of interest. And like I said, I did work experience here as in year 10 and enjoyed that. Was hoping to get an apprenticeship, but there was nothing sort of available at the time. I went on and did year 12, and then after I finished year 12, I was still hoping to get an apprenticeship in the trade, but there was nothing around. Apprenticeships seemed to be a lot harder to come by in those days. But so I ended up actually putting myself through TAFE my first year.
As a greenkeeper?
Yeah, as a greenkeeper, yeah.
Wow, okay.
So I'd go to Orange. We did block release in Orange.
Yeah, right. So you did that off your own bat?
Yeah, for the first year.
Wow.
And towards the end of the first year, I was working part-time here, so just casually. So I'd do maybe one, maybe 2 days a week.
Yep.
On the golf course, and towards the end of the first year, I was put on as the curator of the cricket pitches in town. So I did the cricket pitches in town for 2 seasons.
Yep.
Sort of while I was still at TAFE.
Yeah.
Was put on at the golf course as an apprentice in my second year.
Yep. Gotcha.
And then I finished my apprenticeship here in Mudgee.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't do your first year. So what, you did 3 years after that on the golf course as an apprentice to finish your time. Is that right?
Well, no, I only had to do the 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Righto.
So because I'd done the first year sort of off my back.
Yeah.
I sort of scored credits through through doing the pitches as well. So
yeah. Okay.
that was sufficient.
And I'm curious, didn't know you did the cricket stuff. What did you find? Did you like doing the cricket pitches as well?
Yeah,
I mean,
it was a challenge. It was definitely a challenge. They get all bowled out for 50 and it's a bowler's paradise, and then they score 300 and the bowlers are whinging.
You get do you get the whacker cracks out this way? Is it sort of crack up and break up in the heat sometimes, or not so much?
Not so much.
Okay.
No. But there are some good pitches around.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a really good one in Gulgong, which has been there for a long time. So
yeah. Right. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. So you did that. You've got a taste of other type of greenkeeping, not bowling, but in cricket.
Yeah.
And then did your time here?
Yeah, I did do a little bit of just casual work on bowling greens in town as well.
Because I know a lot of country greenkeepers have at some point worked on bowling greens as well, because they're small communities out this way. Yeah, that's right.
Just mainly helping at renos and things like that.
Yep.
So no, that was also interesting as well.
Yeah, cool.
So I got a bit of a taste of all.
And roughly, I'm going to, without divulging how old you are, maybe. What year are we talking? Are we talking, when's this?
So that would have been the mid-90s.
Okay. Yeah, righto. Yep. Because I think you're 10 years older than I am, ish.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, early.
Thereabouts.
Yep.
So, okay, interesting. And as a kid, and you liked the golf side? Out of all the ones that you did, you liked the golf?
Yeah.
Because you were playing golf.
I was a golfer. I mean, I played a lot of cricket too, but I really sort of gravitated towards the golf side of things, just the challenge and also the beauty of a golf course. That Friday afternoon when you've put a big week in and you can drive around and look at what you've achieved. It's there's no feeling like that. So.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I totally agree with you, because I was the same. I think we'll get to that when we got to know each other in the mountains. But you because you're what are you? How tall are you? 6'5". 6'5". Okay, so you're a big unit, right? And I remember, and you're a lefty. And I remember we used to play pennants and stuff. And I remember you were always a crusher of the ball. I just remember as a kid, I was looking up, and you were always a hell of, because you were down to what, 2, 1?
Yeah, I got down to 1 for a while.
There you go. So you could play golf, right? So I'm getting into, you could play golf. You're working a golf course. Golf was a whole heap of your life,
big
right?
part of my life, and it still is,
Yeah, that's right. So playing that, okay, you do your time here for those number of years, getting as a after school. How did things progress for your career then? Did you get a job here? Continued on?
Well, I did. I finished my apprenticeship here, and sort of at that time, when I finished my apprenticeship, I was approached by Dean Pugic, which we both know, who was the superintendent of Wentworth Falls at the time, and he was looking for an assistant.
Okay.
And I made the venture down to the mountains.
And that's not local to here. That's a long... It's a good... What is it, an hour and a half?
About 2 hours to Winnie, from
So
here.
did you have to move?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, I moved to the mountains, Yep.
Was that the first time out of Mudgee?
Yeah, it was. By myself, yep.
Yeah, right. How old were you?
Early 20s, probably 23, I guess.
Bit of a deal, growing up on a
24.
farm, long farming family heritage, and then working in Mudgee, so you only know this part of the world, and then you're off. And I'm not going to say the mountains is the Big Smoke, because it's far from the Big Smoke, right? But it's a long way from here.
Yeah.
So you're away from family, out on your own.
Yeah.
What was that like? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was different. The climate was the biggest thing that I noticed. Like, it's so cold compared to what I was used to out here. Like, it's a big dry heat out here. But
and you get frosts out here, but
we do get frost out here.
Winter cold that just comes in.
Yeah,
and the wind.
Well, you know it. Like the winters in the mountains are different. They're next level. So
yeah.
And seeing snow like for the first time in the mountains, that was a couple of days trying to get to work driving in the snow was. Bit of a challenge. So,
where were you living up there? Was it at Wentworth Falls?
I was living in Wenny, and I lived in Lura for a little while as well.
Yeah, okay, cool. So, role as assistant, did you get a bit of a thrill out of taking that next level?
I did, yeah. No, it was good. It was a good step, and learned a lot. Dean certainly knew his way around the golf course, and as you know,
he was a lefty too, from
memory.
He was a
lefty,
lefties.
No, so good old lefty, Dino. And then, I remember you come along as our apprentice towards the end of my time there.
Yeah, because you were the assistant dean. I was in charge as super, and I was living next door. So I was always playing golf on the course as a kid, junior, been in and around Dad. The family had obviously been around the club for a while, and that's when I started on, and you were the assistant, and bits and pieces I remember the golf side, I remember the work side. For some reason, I don't know why, this has got nothing to do with anything, people, but we're reminiscing at the moment. But I for whatever, did we have, I remember the front end loader at Wentworth Falls, did we have a slasher on the back of that or something at one stage to cut the rough? For some reason, we were doing laps down fairways.
Yeah, I think we did, because I think the old roughy blew up.
But and I remember, for whatever reason, I remember you being in the cab of that machine at some point. Don't ask me. I got no idea. I've just in my head. Wentworth Falls is Seisy on the loader doing, and I don't even know, mate. I'm just talking. Yeah, but it was a nice time. That was in the, what was that? That was the late 90s.
Yeah, middle of the late 90s.
Yeah, so that was a nice time in golf, because the mountains were sort of starting to invest a lot of money in the golf courses. They were looking at infrastructure at Wentworth Falls. So, assistant at Wentworth Falls. How long were you there at Wentworth Falls? Like I said, we had time together. I did my apprenticeship there. I can't remember when you moved on from Wentworth Falls.
Yeah, it was 99. I left, so I was there for about 3 years.
Yep. So it was probably when I was first year, second year, and then that was.
You'd only probably been there about 6 months. And then I left.
Yep. That'd be right. Probably say it was my fault.
No, definitely not. No, actually, I left there to go and work on the farm with my family.
Back to the family farm.
Back to the family farm, yeah. So.
Okay, and was that because the greenkeeping thing you wanted to get out of, or was home calling you back to the farm? Is it?
Yeah, probably more home. Like I certainly loved the greenkeeping, but just sort of wanted to have a crack at the farm.
Okay.
Just with mainly probably more so for the history.
Yeah, wow. I mean, that's
been five generations, that's pretty special.
That's incredible. I don't think I've ever met anyone that's a fifth generation. Probably that's huge.
Yeah, so I wanted to have a crack at that, and I went back to the farm and worked with Dad, which is a sort of a sheep. Sheep for wool. Yep. And grow a few crops as well. So
yeah, right. Not in the wine or anything out this way.
No, not out that way. No, that's all. It's sort of sheep country out that way. Sheep and cropping country as well.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So went out to the farm, and my dad's he's also bred kelpies. So had a kelpie stud as well. So
hence the dogs.
Yeah,
right. Wow.
Worked out there for about 9 years. And my brother was also working there at the time. So it sort of got to the point where the farm wasn't generating enough income to sort of support 3 families. And the job as superintendent came up here at Mudgee, and I applied for it. back in 2007 and got it.
Okay, so that's when you got to here.
So I did it sort of full circle.
So full circle, and your first role as superintendent was back here where you started.
Yeah.
How did that feel to go? Because so there's a lot of parts into that where you've gone to assistant, then you've gone back to the family farm with the family side of things, and family's calling, and you wanted to do that work as well.
Yep.
And then you had to leave the farm again.
Yeah.
That would have been a tug of war.
It was a big decision at the time.
Yeah, sure.
And I don't think I would have left if my brother wasn't there.
Yep.
If there wasn't someone to sort of take over the place.
Yep.
I'd probably still be on the farm, but
Yep.
as it's turned out, like my brother's, he's got 3 boys, and one of his sons is keen on getting into the farm, so it could be 6th generation. Yeah,
far out. That's incredible.
Yeah, so it all worked out for the best, and I certainly have no regrets.
Yep.
The farm's still in the family, so I can sort of go out there anytime I like and visit and have a look around. So that's really home for me, yeah.
And this is like an extended part of the farm, I guess,
it
in
is
a way
a little
for you.
Bit, yeah.
It's kind of, in a sense, a lot of, it's funny, talking to so many superintendents around Australia, it's amazing how many have come from a farming background. I really didn't know
there's
that.
There's a lot of crossover, let's say, with farming, growing crops and growing grass.
Yeah, well, it's still a crop in a kind of a way.
It is, yeah. You're harvesting sunlight. So.
Yeah. Never heard it put that way. That's pretty good.
It's a lot of similarities. So
I think of Richard Forsyth, who we just spoke to not a couple of episodes ago, Tim Warren from Glenelg in the past, and they've all got rural backgrounds and farming backgrounds. And it's just interesting. Goes hand in hand. There you go.
It does.
Plus the lifestyle of working outside.
Absolutely.
Right? You've already got that.
Yeah.
You already understand what that is. You're not thinking about, it's a crappy day outside, I don't want to go outside. But it's just normal.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas lots of people, sometimes they don't know what that means. And it's a different thing they've got to get their heads around. So first post as superintendent, mate, where you started, what did that feel like?
It was scary to start with, it's because had been out of the greenkeeping industry for a few years. So like it'd been 8 or 9 years since I'd actually been a greenkeeper.
Yep.
And to come straight into a superintendent's role and have staff sort of, looking at me, what do I do? It was scary for the first bit, and it took me a good probably 6 months to really get my head around it and to convince myself that I could actually do it.
Okay.
But as you know, our industry is so good, and there's so many people you can call up and just ask for advice and help, and I did that and learnt that there's heaps of people out there that'll give you help and sort of show you the way.
And you can lean on different people at different times. And I want to go back. You mentioned that you had to convince yourself a little bit or back yourself in a way.
Yeah.
You've been out of the game for a while. I think there's lots of different times in our career when sometimes we sit there and I don't know if I'm cut out for this.
Yep.
It's a tough weather's. Mother Nature's been really pushing your boundaries and press all your buttons all at once out here.
Yeah.
Right? You do, and maybe I can throw that around a little bit now, is Mother Nature out here. Once you get west of the ranges, the weather's very, very different because you don't get the moist weather coming in. Even in the mountains we do. You know what that's like. We get it on the coast. It's misty days, and that can save you from having the hot, dry westerlies. Yep. You don't get that. It doesn't come this far west.
No, you don't. You get, it's different. Mudgee's average rainfall is about 600 mil a year.
Yep.
And when we get that, that's good. It's fine, but we get into droughts and that can be really challenging.
Well, and let's throw around. I remember the 2001 bushfires and all those. They're the dry periods that I remember living in the mountains, right, and working. And out here, it's dry. Farms aren't growing crops, and there's a lot of dust blowing around, and you'll get dust storms from the west that come across. You do get dust
storms occasionally, yes.
It can be really hard to, like I said, thinking about backing yourself because it's external pressures that are intangible. You can't control Mother Nature.
No, you got to
so
work
if you're, 2007, you're starting. I can't remember what the weather was like back then off the top of my head, but there's been some dry periods that I'm sure, even in around when you started, that you got to lean on people. You've got to talk to another super from the region to go, hey, is it just me, or is it actually this hard out here?
Yeah, it can be. It certainly can be. I mean, we sort of get the best of both worlds in a way. As far as you get the cool winters and then at the hot summers, but summers are definitely more challenging.
Yep.
So with our greens here, as we were talking before, they were put down in the 50s, so they're 70 years old now and no drainage, and we do have a lot of dry patch through the summers, so there's a lot of hand watering has to be done. With a small staff can be challenging. So we sort of try to keep on top of that. You get Goffin and anywhere in Australia, I suppose, you get the summer storms.
Yes.
We've had quite a few over the years. A few bad storms come through and cause a bit of havoc. There's Mudgee's very heavily tree lined. Golf course with some big old gum trees. So, when they come down with a thud.
And a few days to clean up.
So we've had some big storms over the years. And, like Australia is land of droughts and flooding rain. So we've had
Dorothy McKellar never those words ring true in so many parts.
Absolutely. So we've had some bad floods through here. There's a creek that runs through the golf course here, so we've had some pretty big floods, washed bridges away and that as well. So
you get the extremes.
On both ends. And I don't know, you just find a way of dealing with it, don't you? I guess so.
100%. I think there's something in our industry. I don't know whether I can't speak for metropolitan part of the world because I didn't work there. I don't know, but I often found when there's those external pressures, the things that are intangible, and usually it's got to do with Mother Nature. There's a level of comfort to talk to someone who's also dealing with similar challenges. And on the mountains, there's a couple of other courses in the mountains, and I would often, we got to know each other through the Central West. Lots of the guys out here. There's 100. How far is it? Like, as far as 18-hole golf courses go, you've got Henbury not too far away at Candos, about 40-something minutes away.
45 minutes, yeah.
Bathurst is another 18-hole golf course, which is, an hour?
Hour and a half.
Hour and a half.
Yep.
Right, so you got to drive. Yeah. You got two 18-hole golf courses that are comparable more so to Bathurst than to Mudgee than Henbury because of the budgets that they're dealing with and so on. But an hour and a half to the next nearest 18-hole facility that's comparable.
Yeah, or Dubbo is about similar distance, out an hour and a half as well to Dubbo.
So your nearest neighbour. Yeah. I mean, it's not like you can go and, how you going? What are your greens? Look, can I just come and have I just want to see how they're going, mate, because we're doing it tough. It's an hour and a half drive. Right? It's not down the road.
Yeah, it is. That is a bit of a challenge.
It's a different way of life in a sense.
It is a little bit, yeah. So compared to the city guys, so it's a bit easy for them, obviously, to go and have a chat to their neighbour.
And there's not so many people around either. Like there might be one or two, like you said, and there's Wellington and there's a couple of other courses around. But there's, in that large group, like when we would all get together for the Central West for our golf day, we would get the best part of probably 15 golf courses.
We would.
Thereabouts, on a good one. Yep. And in the city, like there's 15 within half an hour, for the most part. So I find it's something that I think it's much more close knit. I think even though there's this distance, you kind of have a really good camaraderie around.
You do, yeah. The region. I get on really well with all the other supers in the Central West, and they all do a great job under difficult circumstances. So I think a lot can be learnt from the bushy greenkeepers.
I think so too. And you don't have the budgets. You got to work. I say there's lots of puzzles you got to solve and different thinking outside the box to get things working or things to keep moving forward. So that I love that. I love that way of life. Me personally, because there's lots of things you got to work through, and lots of puzzles that keep it interesting. You've always got interesting problems to solve out here,
you do.
And dealing with Mother Nature's no different. So it's so as a superintendent, mate, you grabbed that with both hands. You rolled with it. You did what you had to do when you had to do it, and you've been super here for how long now?
17 years coming up.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Has that flown by?
It has. Yeah,
17 years. Has a lot changed for you on course here over that time? Is it you've seen things that you're able to improve? I know you've got a new clubhouse, and that wasn't on purpose.
No, that wasn't on purpose. No, that was unfortunate. Yeah, we lost the clubhouse in 2010. Just a kitchen fire.
With a kitchen fire. Yep.
Yeah, there's been a lot of changes.
I know you've upgraded your irrigation. Because we were coming to have a look at what you'd done because you were ploughing the lines in at the time.
Yeah, so we did. That was one of the first. When I first started, that was in process of doing that. So that was sort of been thrown right in the deep end. The club was in the process of redoing the irrigation, like wall to wall.
Yeah, right. Okay. Fairways,
tees, greens,
the whole lot.
Yep. So that was a big learning curve to start with. One of the bigger challenges I had when I first started was machinery. So the machinery was pretty run down.
Yep.
And took quite a few years to get that all up to scratch, and we started leasing machinery instead of purchasing it. So that was a big game changer. That made things a lot easier. I can remember one day, every bit of machinery broke down in the one day. So
really,
at one point I was fixing something,
and
every bit of piece.
Something else was coming. Someone's like, something's broken.
Yeah,
but it's not working.
Yeah,
this is down now, and that's down next. Yeah. What do you do?
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest challenges of being a superintendent is just prioritising, and working out a way of getting the job done.
And you're also the thing that is you're the point of contact.
Yep.
So there's a lot. The other staff members don't know often what to do next. So they go, okay, well, I'm out here using the machine. They're an apprentice or whatever, and I don't have the skills or the knowledge to work out what's next or how to do it. I'm out here doing the job that I'm out here to do, and I'm doing that to my best of my ability. Mm-hmm. And then something goes wrong. I go, boss, Jason, this isn't working now. What am I meant to do here?
That's right.
And you've got to then problem solve, and sometimes you'll use them and you'll bounce ideas. But you're always the one that it all comes back to. The information comes back to you.
Exactly. Yeah. So you do a lot of problem solving. With little staffs, and there's a lot of guys out there that do the same thing. And not only are you're guiding your own staff around, you're on a mower yourself a lot of the time because you don't have the staff to put on them all.
Yep.
So you have to get on a mower, or you have to go and change holes or T-run or whatever it might be to get the job done before the comp starts.
Before the comp's out there, and if something goes wrong, you got to stop what you're doing, and then its times goes out the window and all that sort of stuff. It certainly can be challenging. It's so 17 years here, mate. That's a long run.
Yep.
And not uncommon for a lot of the Central West guys. I won't say everyone does it, but often people, whether be locals, their lives are here, their families are here, and they tend to stay for a while unless you have a dramatic change in, like you said, you go to the farm or whatever. So, mate, congratulations on 17 years. That's huge. That's a long time, mate. Well done. And the course looks a picture. I can say it does because you've just shown me around. And great to reminisce again on some of the parts of the golf course. I love it.
Thanks.
Let's start talking about the golf course, mate. Let's talk a little bit about Mudgee and highlight what you're looking after here with your team. Let's give us a bit of a description. It's a rural country style golf course because there's a lot of gum trees around, long holes. You got plenty of room. When they got the land eventually, we know there's a bit of history here and in a couple of paddock changes in the early 1900s, and then they got to here. They've got enough size. There's a beautiful creek that runs through, you mentioned before, and culminates in and around the 17th, which is an absolutely brilliant par 3. But tell us a little bit about the land. Tell us a bit about the property.
Mudgee Golf Club was established in 1906.
Yep.
So it's got a fair bit of history. Quite an old course. The second oldest this side of the mountains.
Yeah, right.
Behind Bathurst.
Yep.
Kaiku fairways and tees predominantly, and Pencross bent greens,
which are ace. They've always been ace.
Yeah, they've always been. They're the old push-up style greens. So, like I said earlier, they were built in the 50s.
Yep.
Before that, it was sand greens.
Oh, okay. Right. Oh.
Yeah. It was a sand green course and a different layout. So the layout was changed in the 50s when the grass greens were put in.
Righto. Okay, and that's what we've essentially got today.
That's what we've got today.
Yep.
18
holes, big course, a big space.
Yeah, there's about 90 to 95 acres to maintain.
Right.
Yep. From fence to fence.
Yep.
So, but 9 hectares of fairway, bit under a hectare of greens.
Yep. It's like a lot of these country courses. There's smaller greens but big space. Yeah. If that's the right way of saying it.
A lot of rough to maintain. So.
Yeah. Do you have any bunkers?
There's two.
I couldn't remember.
Too many.
Too many. Well said. It's great space, great size. Like you said, if you get storms, some of the older trees will break branches and things like that in the strong winds because it's not regular wind in Mudgee, not like the mountains so much, is it?
No, it's not. It's generally doesn't get that windy here,
Yep.
really.
Yep.
I mean, not to say that we don't get storms, and we do get windy
Sure.
days, but as a rule, it doesn't get really windy here or consistent wind.
There's a valley style feel
Yeah,
about it. Is
well,
that kind of what it is?
It is, yeah. And Mudgee is actually Aboriginal for nest in the hills. So
Well, there you go. Okay.
There's as you
That's
look around Mudgee, there's
Well, it's all around, right?
big hills around all
They're
around
everywhere.
Mudgee. So
And the drive out, yeah,
hence
when the
the
drive
name.
out here and then you get into that sort of valley as you come into town, you notice that they're more outside the township rather than driving through
that's
it
right.
when
yeah.
you're driving around Lake Windermere and stuff.
Yeah.
But
So I guess that does provide a bit of a wind barrier, I suppose.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, it's not a big windy area, but it can get
If you
windy.
get a storm or
If you
something,
get a
it's
storm or
wild.
something. Yeah, it
Yeah,
can get a bit wild.
Totally. Now, we were talking about out there on course, so the Kike fairways, let's talk a little bit about the combinations of turf surfaces and Mother Nature and the challenges. So here you get quite hot, dry summers, not too dissimilar to, I suppose, Melbourne and some of those parts of the country, and
Yeah.
certainly the Central West. Very different to Sydney. This is a different ball game to Sydney.
Absolutely.
Completely.
Yep.
So you got bent grass greens. And I've always known as a pennant player coming out here and or visiting, the bent greens here, and there's not a lot of power. I assume that's because of your heat. You probably don't have any power, really. I didn't see any.
We do get a bit of power. There is a bit of power in the greens.
But your heat would cook it out, would it?
No, you'd think
Well,
so.
You think so, but you've got to keep greens alive, right?
Yeah.
So it's a catch-22.
It is a bit. No, the power does survive. Try to keep the seed head down using products to reduce the seed head and
I mean, they look
things like
great.
that, so.
And they've always been known well throughout the golfing community of the Central West.
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
So that's one of the things I like. But Kikuyu fairways, that sets you up well for dealing with the hot, dry?
It does. I mean, Mudgee being a farming town originally, the golf course sort of ended up with probably the worst soil in the district. So like, it's not the best soil to be growing. It's real chalky, clayey, rocky, stony sort of ground.
Right.
So it's not, apart from along the creek.
Yeah.
The fairways that run along the creeks, they've got some nice black rich soil.
Okay.
Loamy soil through there, but you move away from that, and it's the dig a hole and the soil's not that flash, so that does pose challenges. So I mean, a lot of aerating. We started a fertilizer primo program in the last few years to try to help maintain that the fairways, and we're just in the process of securing a bore to get us some more water. We do pump water up from the river.
There's a bit of a story to that. I don't know. Can you say that story out loud about because I thought that was really interesting about how you get water from the river and how the club came to get that.
Yeah, so back in I think it was around the 50s, around the first when they put the grass greens in, and about that time all the trains were going from steam to diesel. The golf club was able to secure the irrigation line that the railway station had from the river. Was able to secure that line and the pump and the water licence and extend it over to our dam we have down on the second. And that's sort of where we got our water from.
So they were using that from steam when the steam trains first come out here in the 1800s or something.
1880s, yeah.
And then when they first put the rail line down, and then once they were converting off, they didn't need it.
That's right.
Because of diesel
Yep.
engines. So then the club was in a position, I suppose, then when we were able to purchase that license and the infrastructure.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I always, we were talking about it before the podcast, I always wondered how you were able to get that water from the river to here, because you're not next to the river.
No, it's about 3 k's, so we've got to pump it up from the river. So, so we were lucky, and it was good foresight from like past members to secure that. And sort of got us in that position, and now we're in the process of just securing a bore license and putting another bore down.
And as you said, that's the sort of thing that, all things being equal, could be a bit of a game changer again for the club.
Absolutely.
To be able to secure the right amount of water that you won't need to ebb as much with Mother Nature, because you do get, it can be year on year if you get a dry spell. It's not just a spell. It's it can be a long-term thing, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yep. I mean, for example, our irrigation licence was cut back, and in the drought in 1920.
Yeah, right.
And we were only able to water greens through the summer, through that 2019.
Yeah, because that was really hard.
It was,
That was when I think I remember seeing that was with the fires in Sydney, and they had the smoke through the Oz Open when they were playing at the Australian.
That's right, yeah.
That was pretty intense.
Yeah, so we were back to just watering greens, so everything else was sort of died off during that summer. So
that's hard work to watch.
That was a tough one. So
to watch your golf course struggle to the point where it's going backwards,
absolutely,
and you can't do anything about it.
Absolutely, yeah. So to be able to secure a ball license and good ball water would be a game changer for our club.
Make a difference. And water security, like anything, it's the means to making any golf course more playable, and certainly you can deliver a better product for people to play golf, which makes a lot of the difference. Especially you want people to come out here. You're at I think we were talking about, it's kind of the end of the line of a highway to come out to Mudgee off the beaten track.
It is a little
a bit of a way, but it's worth coming out to because it is I call it a bit of an oasis, having driven through a lot of the way that I did coming here today, which is a bit of a detour that I went. But it's nice to come out here and you go, I'm playing on a golf course as good as anywhere in Sydney in terms of quality. Like, you've got nice, beautiful fairways. The greens present well. They're bent grass greens, and it's a great golf course layout. It's challenging.
It's a challenge, yeah, for sure.
It's a fantastic course. And you just had the Open not long ago, the Mudgee Open?
Yeah, in the long weekend in October.
Yeah, right.
Our annual,
and you said there was
Open.
couple hundred people playing?
230, I think we had, yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
It's a big weekend.
And, mate, so that's a bit of the golf course in terms of what you've got here to look after and what people will experience when they come to play here. It's always had a great name as long as I've been around playing golf up in the mountains and through the Central West. What does it take? And I'm curious to talk about this one so much in terms of your team. Tell us a little bit about your team, because I've spoken to Richard Forsyth from Royal Melbourne. We've got the other extreme, no doubt. Tell us what it takes to look after a Mudgee. How many staff do you have?
Well, at the moment, we're 4 full-time staff.
Yep.
Sort of including myself.
Yep.
We have a guy that comes in. He does sort of 13 hours a week, sort of gardening and that sort of thing.
Yep.
We're only just back to 4 staff. We've been sort of 3 staff for probably the last 3 years.
Yeah, right, okay.
Which has definitely been a challenge. So getting back to 4 staff again now will be good, yeah.
And it helps that you don't have a lot of bunkers to worry about.
It does,
storms or washouts and any of that sort of stuff. So that's a good thing in a sense as well. But like you mentioned, the space, the rough, you got a cart. Do you have volunteers help you out?
We do have some volunteers. They'll turn up when they get a bit of spare time.
Yep.
But we do get some volunteers. Yeah.
Yep.
It'd be nice. We've tried to get more of a consistent volunteer membership going.
Yeah.
And it'll work might work for a few months, and then they sort of fade off and do their own thing again. So that is tough, but yeah, we do have some volunteers come in from time to time.
Plenty of work for 4 people.
Plenty of work for 4
Especially
people.
in summertime. I'm out here, it's going to be 35, 36 today or something?
Yeah. So there'll be plenty of bit of hand watering this afternoon. Yeah.
It's there's no doubt there's plenty of work to do. And I'm as a superintendent, you're here every day. You know the course, you've been here for 17 years. What's one of your favourite parts of the golf course?
Oh, the bar? No.
That's the perfect answer.
No. People that know me probably would think that'd be the answer. No. The greens are probably my favourite part of the course.
Yep.
Like you said, they've always been good. They can be a challenge to maintain, especially the older they get.
Yeah, for sure.
But certainly I sort of hang my hat on the green. So,
is there a part as a golfer that's coming to visit, and we always like to have good experiences and new experiences out on golf courses? I'm a big fan of your 17th hole.
Yep.
Right. I think that's an absolute that hole stands on its own amongst some of the greatest golf holes around this country.
Yep.
It's certainly in regional areas, but it'll even stand up to plenty of metro golf holes.
Yep.
It's this beautiful little par 3. I think it's, what did it say, 127 from the back?
127 from the back, yeah.
And it's an island green essentially, where the creek, when it's flowing and a good flow of rain, will circumnavigate the green. So it's literally an island.
It will be, yep.
And
in big rain, yeah.
It's a short, and it's got this big old gum tree. I'm going to put the photos up on social media. It's a big old gum tree over the right-hand side,
Yep.
so you can't... I hit a draw right to left, so it's a pain in the backside for my type of shot.
Yeah.
But it's this cool little penultimate hole, and I think standing on the tee and slightly downhill a little bit, and you've got this chasm of the valley of the creek flow around when it comes raging through. I mean, it just looks unbelievable.
Yeah.
What's one? Is that one of your favourites? That's something that people talk about here. I'm sure.
Oh, that's certainly our signature hole.
Yep.
But the last 3 holes are really would stand up pretty well. Like the 16th, 17th, and 18th. The 16th is a good par 4 that dog legs right, and you've got the creek all the way along your right.
Okay.
That
was the one we drove.
The 18th it's a strong par 4 dog leg back left up the hill to the clubhouse.
And that can be into the wind, I think, from memory. Is that right?
Most often into the wind. Yeah.
So when you do get a westerly or something, it's just a brutal golf hole to finish.
Yeah. So the last 3 holes there, good finishing, tough, strong.
Yeah.
Strong
and
holes.
certainly a good way to finish off your championships or even a pennants match, a home pennants match. You got that hometown advantage. Is it's certainly one of the big things. I'm curious. Do you get a lot of support? Does the local community support the club well? I mean, we talk about the Open just then, you get 230, but they come from all over the Central West usually.
They do.
Doing the Open rounds. But
all over New South Wales. They
right.
For our Open, yeah.
So there's a community, I often talk about regional townships and their golf courses being sort of a central hub. Sometimes it's a download from a hard day's work for the people that work on the bit of the land, and sometimes they come out to play golf and stretch their legs, which you've done, or it's just a hard, it's been a tough, hot couple of weeks, and you just let your hair down and have a drink afterwards, and a bit of camaraderie around. Is that what it's like here? Just the same? We have a
good membership here. And like Mudgee's a reasonable sized town. There's, like I said, about 12,000 people live in Mudgee. We get around 100 players on a Saturday, which isn't too bad. Our numbers are improving. And the club itself, it's doing quite well. They've got a good restaurant in there, and it gets supported quite well by the community. So
got the little coffee caravan happening now outside. That's pretty trendy.
Little coffee caravan going on.
Almost too trendy for country golf.
A little bit, yeah.
I got a coffee on arrivals. That was brilliant.
Yep. So it took a few of the members a while to get their head around that, but
but they were all lining up. I thought there was no one there, and then I ordered, and all of a sudden there was 6 ladies coming behind me.
Yep.
I'll have one. I'm like, geez, what's going on here? It's working well.
It is, yeah. Yep.
a little coffee van. So, it's good to hear and see that the club's doing well. And it certainly helps you delivering the stuff. Do you still get to play much here, mate?
Yeah, I try and play once a week. So,
do you get bothered by some people?
No,
or not really?
No, I just tell
I'm going to ask.
I'm a golfer. Leave me alone. I'm not a greenkeeper today. I'm a golfer. So,
is that I talk to a lot of people, and sometimes I hear some superintendents and greenkeepers say that it's not worth playing golf where you work. It's not worth dealing with that stuff. Is that helpful or a hindrance? To play where you work? No,
I find it helpful because I find that when you play, you actually notice things that you don't necessarily notice when you're working there. Like you're driving around on a mower, you don't. But when you actually play the course, you pick up on stuff that you don't always notice. So I find it helpful personally. I guess it probably depends a lot on your membership and how you get along with your members. I encourage my staff to play golf.
Yep.
So that they get to know the membership, and also so they can pick up on those things. So they get to play the course, get to feel it, what it's like, maybe what we can do better, what needs fixing, what doesn't. So
I agree with you. I think you see it. It's like you're darting all over the golf course as a staff member, the most efficient way that works to mow greens, fairway, whatever, right? To do those areas. But to play it as a golfer in the linear order of holes from the pro shop, the moment you leave and you get out, you do the first tee, and then you work your way around and you get to 8 and you finish, you come in, you're doing a path that you don't really see as a greenkeeper, don't you? Right. You look at the detail of when you walk off a green to go to the next tee, and you'll rarely do that as a greenkeeper. Right.
And you're getting to experience what the golfer's experiencing, so you get a feel for what they're experiencing. So, I find it helpful.
Okay. No, that's good, mate. I think it's good to hear that sort of stuff. And I just thought I'd ask because, sometimes some people don't really like it. Like I said, they try and avoid some because you get the knockers.
Yeah.
Every club's got them. I'd be a fool to say that you don't have them.
Yeah, and certainly I get the knockers too, but you got to sort of take it a bit like water off a duck's back,
And it's part of the job, right?
Like I just say, look, I know when the course isn't playing well or isn't good.
Yep.
You don't need to tell me, I know that. So,
Fair enough. One of the things, and this is a bit more of a turfy side of things than a golfer listening, is you mentioned to me about ground pearl.
Yes.
Just then while we're out there driving around and showing me parts of the course. Now, I said to you I'd never really seen or heard of that in modern greenkeeping, and most of my stuff was in the mountains. It's too cold, generally speaking. But you said, Greg, tell us a bit of an idea of how you come across that.
Yeah, it's my biggest issue here at the moment is ground pearl in our fairways and tees.
Yep.
So
in the Kikuyu. That's where you said it's really
it gets
hitting.
into the Kikuyu. And the fairways here were originally sown down as South African cooch.
Yep. Oh, okay.
So
I didn't know.
Why you probably noticed.
I saw the South African, but I didn't realise that's what they were put down
South
as.
African.
Right.
The kike sort of slowly took over, and in the 70s, they just started planting the kike and
putting it in.
Yeah. But the ground pearl haven't always been here, to my knowledge, and I don't know exactly how they got here. Whether they came in on a load of soil
Could be anything, I guess.
Could be anything. But we were working on we had a bare patch on our 18th fairway. I'm going back probably, I don't know, 8 years I suppose ago. It was quite a while ago, and we were just sort of digging this bare area up. We were going to put some more soil in and turf it out. And I just noticed this little pink, would look like a bit of like a grain of sand, and I sort of grabbed it and it sort of popped in my fingers and hang on, that's not a grain of sand. And I started looking a bit closer and found quite a few of them, and thought to myself, oh geez, that looks like ground pearl, and I'd never seen it before. So we've been trying to turf areas out using Santa Ana cooch, which they don't seem to attack.
It's not really affecting it so much.
Affect as much. They certainly like the kike.
Yep.
And they like the drier areas too. They seem to like the drier areas on the fairways. So we've been using the Santa Ana, and we've also started using a product that had been actually registered to kill ground pearl.
Right, okay.
Just in the last sort of 18 months, 2 years. So
Yep.
we're sort of trying that two-pronged attack
Yep.
To try to get them under control, because they.
And you showed me some of the areas out there. It sort of creeps in because have you got centre run irrigation on the fairways? What have you got here?
Yeah, just the centre run.
Centre run. So on your edges where it starts to dry out around where the tree line sort of roots start to creep in, especially in the dry stuff, you said it sort of starts there and then they'll creep into some of the areas under stress.
Yep.
And it affects your kike, like you said. But I noticed that it, and you obviously know that as well, but it also was affecting the South African cooch where you had some of those remnants.
Yeah.
But you were putting a couple of rolls of Santa Ana in the middle, and it's spreading, and it looked like it was almost unaffected for whatever the reasons are. And it was really interesting to see how the different grasses were affected, and some were and some weren't. And you said that their excretion stays in the soil and can affect.
So, from what I've learned, their excretions they remain in the soil and act sort of like a herbicide in the soil and basically
sterilises
the soil, yeah.
But the Santa Ana seemed to be okay.
Seems to handle it okay, and it's almost sort of keeping up with the damage that they're doing. So, along with the spray, the hope is to grow them out eventually and kill the little buggers.
And like I said, I'd never seen it. I didn't know about it, and because most of the courses I play of or know of are cooch or it's cool climate. But you've got the warmer stuff and temperatures out here.
I'd be happy to learn if anyone else has got any more information on them or how to control them. I'd be happy to learn.
Yeah, there you go. Anyone listening, if you've got any knowledge on ground pearl, it's a unique challenge out here and probably one that we don't often hear about. I don't think so much in turf. So if there's anyone listening, Seisy, Jason at Mudgee is curious to learn more.
Yes, definitely.
Any way you can help. Mate, I just want to touch on before we finish up, and it's been wonderful chatting to you and also reminiscing about it, is I talked about the camaraderie earlier. One of the things I remember, and it was the Greenkeepers Day that I was organising and a lot of people were helping to do with it. It's been going since when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I don't know how, probably the similar time, because you were up at Wentworth Falls when I was an apprentice. And
Yeah.
so the mid to late 90s, I think it was running around, and that was drawing on about a 500-kilometre circle of golf courses and greenkeepers that would catch up once a year. That's something that I miss.
I do too, yeah. They were good days.
A lot of fun.
Good
to catch up once a year, because we don't get to do it enough.
No, we don't. Local. We don't. It's unfortunate that they stopped. It'd be good to get them going again, because it was good. Yeah, it was great to catch up with the mountain guys and also the Central West guys, and just have a game of golf, have a chat about issues that are going on at your course.
Yeah.
And, couple of beers and a laugh, and
that's right. Let your hair down.
Let your hair down just for a day, and I used to thrive on those days. They were great fun, and credit to you for all the organising you did in those. And it's unfortunate that since you've stepped away, no one sort of stepped up. So let's hope that.
Look, let's hope it does. Maybe this is a call out to those in the industry that to see if they can start to pick it up again and roll with it. Because I say it, and I say it out loud, and I say it to anyone who I'm talking with, that the Central West is a sort of a funny space where the reps in the industry don't tend to sort of visit as much. I mean, you get the regulars, right? We know that all the bigger companies, and there's only a couple of them really, that will come through and service regularly.
Yep.
But generally speaking, you're left to your own devices in a sense. You talked about it. I've mentioned it, problem solving. You've got to reach out to find others and to talk to them, because you're doing so much work on your own in a small team. You don't get a lot of time to stick your head up and say, oh, hey, let's catch up. Come for a beer. Oh, I'm 2 hours away. It's not like I'm coming for a beer.
Yeah.
So it's harder to do that. And I'd love to see the industry itself in a broader sense sort of come to, and it's not as easy to walk away from a golf course for a day or two. It takes a couple of days if you're going to Sydney, right? Because you got to travel, and you get to play golf there, and I don't know. Do you get to do much of the conference stuff or seminars that are put on? I
try to get to the conference.
The annual one?
The annual one.
The ASTMA.
Yep. I didn't go last year, but it was in Adelaide the year before.
Yep.
Companies will often put on seminars and stuff in the Central West, so it'd be nice if they did a few more of them, because it's good to get the Central West boys together again. That's the only other real time that we do get to catch up as a group and have a chat. And they're always good educational days. Get your reps and all that there, and they get speakers and stuff, which is great. As well, and they're starting. I know that there are some companies doing that a lot better. Yeah, certainly than the 10 years ago when I was a superintendent. It's sort of come a long way since then, which is great to see. And I think that's hats off to those that are supporting this region in that way. Absolutely.
I'd like to see our own industry bodies do a little bit more support for this area. That's probably where I'm coming from a little bit more.
I would agree with that.
I'm not being harsh to anyone, but I think there's a lot of distance in here, as there are in a lot of other areas. But I know it's easy to go and where there's more people, it's easier to deal with.
They are very metropolitan based.
Yeah, and that's even the coastal, up the north coast or the south coast. There's good groups of courses that are closer together as well, so it's easy to do that. But that's just a personal viewpoint, but I remember for as long as I've been in the industry working in this part of the world, there was always great camaraderie between the greenkeepers of the Central West, but the distance was a difficult challenge. The
tyranny of distance.
Yeah, that's right. So hopefully that's something that the industry can do, maybe something out here again. Pick it up and roll with it, because
that'd be great to see. I definitely support that.
There's and it becomes, and maybe this is just me speaking, I guess, I don't know, but did you ever find, I found it was good in a way, it's a bit of a mental health help as well. Is that the right way of saying it? Because when there's a lot of other people in a similar boat in the one space, it's easier to talk to them.
Absolutely.
I find, rather than even, it's better than a one-on-one.
Yep.
In a group, like you said, you're having a laugh. And I used to look forward to it. That's probably why I went on to trying to organise it, make sure it kept going, because I used to love it.
No, you're spot on there when you're sitting around having a beer with the other supers or other greenkeepers.
And
that
young
are in
people,
a similar boat.
young people getting into the industry,
Yeah,
they're meeting
it's good
others that they're not going to see probably for years that they
That's
wouldn't
it.
even know you could see local.
It's good to break them into it and get them to know the local or the Central West greenkeepers, and because there's certainly not enough young fellas coming through. We certainly need more young greenkeepers
Well, and
coming
that's
through.
the other thing, the challenge of what's it like in a rural country town. Like, we know it's hard for metropolitan people, and there's 5 million people in Sydney, right? And it's hard to get greenkeepers.
Yep.
There's 12,000 people in Mudgee. What's it like to try and get an apprentice here?
Not easy. Luckily, we've just found one.
Yep.
He's only just started, but he's keen. He's a young golfer himself, so
Well, that's helpful. That's a good start, right?
So, but to find qualified greenkeepers is almost impossible in a small.
Well, there you
country
go.
town.
There's an
So,
interesting part.
Yeah,
That makes it even harder again.
yeah, and it's not only greenkeeping. Like the tradies, the builders and plumbers, and that in town as well have trouble because you're fighting against coal mines in the area here. They're taking take a lot of the tradies away.
Yeah, and they pay good bucks,
They
right?
pay good bucks. So it's a big challenge.
Is there? I don't know what we. And I do ask this question to most people that I sit down with. What can we do? Do you have any? Is there any ideas? And I don't know. You spitball stuff around the shed, or you're thinking about it while you're out on a machine sometimes, and you're getting the shits and frustrated at things that you're finding difficulties with. What is it that we're not doing?
Well,
I don't know.
personally, I don't think that greenkeepers are paid enough to start with. It could be a problem. I don't think clubs pay greenkeepers enough.
And is that how? Because let's discuss that point then. If greenkeepers aren't being paid enough, they're paid by the clubs,
Yes.
right? So, the question is, are greenkeepers not being valued by golfers? Because they're the ones who are running the clubs, right?
That's right. Well,
I don't know, and I'm not trying to be rude to anyone.
I don't think they are like they used to. I think greenkeepers were certainly valued more. When I was sort of doing my apprenticeship in early times, they seemed to be a lot more greenkeepers around and were valued a lot more.
Is the income is not there, so they can't afford to pay more, maybe? Is it not so much that they don't think they're valued, it's just that they can't sometimes?
Maybe they can't. Some of the smaller clubs probably just can't afford to pay enough, but I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. It's a big problem. I don't know what our industry is going to be like in the next 10 years. It's a bit scary because you only have to look on the ASTMA website, the amount of jobs that are on there. It's obviously a nationwide problem.
Yeah.
I know it's a big problem just in our little town, but nationwide in 10 years' time, where are we going to find greenkeepers?
Well then, okay, so
They're not coming through.
we let's extrapolate it again, and we'll go down the rabbit hole if that's okay, mate. Because I'm just curious, because it's not every day we get to look into a small club, right? You're a small regional club that punches above its weight in terms of quality of golf course, because I can speak for it. I've played enough golf courses to know what it's like to play here. Yep. So we'll talk about that. But if we're talking about comparing pay and where people are looking for a career and where they're going to go to work, right, this isn't really asking you for dollars, and it may never do that, and that's okay. Yep. But if in 10 years' time, we're already looking at automation and robotics, and there's those mowers out there. We've seen them in the States. They were preparing for one of the events, I think, 6 months ago in the US.
Yep.
That's getting more tangible. That's starting to look somewhat appealing to clubs that can't afford a yearly wage to a qualified greenkeeper, or they'll do away with the groundsmen and the casuals and put a robotic mower. I mean, I don't know. Where do we go?
Well, I don't know.
That's a worry for me.
It is. That's a concern. I mean, I haven't seen many of those robotic type mowers, so I don't know whether I can really comment on that too much. That's another concern. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, we need to appeal to more of an emotional attachment to the job, I think, because we're never going to pay the money that other industries are paying, and that's fair enough.
Yeah.
But is there something else there? I mean, you've talked about the love of what it's like.
Yeah. I suppose for it, like it's obviously, and you know yourself, it's a great job. Like it's a very rewarding job. and doing it in a small town and it's a great lifestyle. So,
yeah, for sure.
That's certainly what attracted me to it, and I don't know why it doesn't attract more people.
Yeah, I think if we lean into that side of things a little bit more somehow as an industry, you can't. A Mudgee Golf Club is not going to do that on its own.
No.
The industry needs to change how it's viewed, how the role is viewed, what a career in greenkeeping is to look like, because a lot of people don't even know what it is. I mean, I was talking to Sophie Warren from Glenelg Golf Club. She's soon to be qualified. She was on the last episode of John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens, and she said that her friends don't even know what she did.
No.
So, I mean, that's now.
That doesn't
That's a
surprise
young
me.
person now in a capital city. That's a worry.
It's sad, yeah.
And so I look at this in a regional town. I have a love for country towns. I grew up in them. I enjoy travelling to them and visiting them. People are wonderful. But there's an attachment to me of working outside. It's an intrinsic attachment. It's an emotional attachment. I can't always put my finger on it, but I really like doing it.
So do I, yeah.
And
I could never do an office job.
No, you never get me for nicks in an office. I'd go mad.
Yeah.
But I wonder if maybe that's something we need to try and change. I don't know. I know it's a challenge, but when you were saying if it's that hard in a small town and we know it's hard in a capital city where there's millions of people, literally, I can only see us continuing to go downhill and making it even harder still, like you said, in 10 years.
Unfortunately, I
tend
to agree with you. It is a big worry. It's a big worry, and it's been a worry for a while.
So we've seen it coming.
We've seen it coming.
And we're still watching it.
Yep.
That's a worry. Anyway.
And that's probably something, I don't know, I think maybe the AST may need to really have a think about and with those governing bodies and try to
hopefully
find an answer.
Hopefully they're doing that. Hopefully they're sitting around a table and they've got lots of ideas and
I certainly hope so. Yeah.
That's all we can hope for. But mate, look, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast. I love hearing about your time here, 17 years as superintendent at Mudgee Golf Club. I love hearing about how much you enjoy greenkeeping, working outside, working in a country town like Mudgee is, and I know that looking at it, this is a place for people to come and visit if they're ever travelling through it.
Absolutely.
You can come out here and have some wines from the cellar doors and enjoy golf, and there's lots of things to do.
Do a wine tour and have a round of golf and
bloody oath, get amongst it.
Yeah.
I reckon that's what it's all about.
Have nice restaurants and stuff around.
Seisy, it's been great to reminisce at times, mate. It's we've known each other for quite a long time, and lots have changed over the years. But as they say, it's lots have changed, and it still continues to be the same as well at some points. But mate, it's great to catch up. I appreciate you coming on John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens on the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast, mate. And it's great to hear you and hear your stories about you as a greenkeeper and Mudgee Golf Club, mate. Thank you.
Thank you, Smithy. My pleasure.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Jason Seis, Superintendent of Mudgee Golf Club in the central western New South Wales. Seisy and I have known each other for a very long time, as you've heard, since I was an apprentice. So that puts it in the 1998, I think it was. There you go. So long time we've known each other on and off, and he does a cracking job out there. Mudgee is a sensational golf course. I absolutely enjoy playing it, and we held a greenkeeping industry event out there back in 2013, and it was an absolute ripper. And a lot of people enjoy Mudgee. They get, as you heard, they get lots of people out there to visit, playing their Mudgee Open. And if you're touring around regional New South Wales and you like to try something a bit different, Mudgee's a good track. It's got some fantastic golf holes, certainly the 17th, and I love the 13th as well, as a long sweeping par 5, and I think it's 500 and something metres. It's a massive hole, and look, it's got some great, fantastic golf holes and some sensational putting surfaces. That's what they're known so well for out there as well. Look, go out there and play it. If you're looking for a regional track to play and you're visiting the area, make sure you stick Mudgee on the list, is what I can say to you. And thank you to Seisy for taking the time out. It was a bloody hot day, and he had a good air conditioner in the smoker room where we recorded the podcast. So I thank Seisy, and it was great to catch up and great for him to show me around the golf course as well. I really appreciated the time, but it was a big day out. A big day out for myself driving around, a big day trip. Ladies and gentlemen, Check out the show notes. There's going to be a number of clickables in there, as I always say. So make sure you check out the show notes. And, of course, thank you to John Deere Golf for their support for Keeper of the Greens on the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. Without them, this just does not happen the way that we're doing it. Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you subscribe to the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast to stay up to date and hear many more stories, lots more information, bits and pieces of news that are coming with Walking the Fairways, interviews galore coming, and there's lots happening. Certainly, the next episode is a special one, so make sure you tune in for that. Make sure you click subscribe and get your notifications for when that's coming out next week, because that's something special. It's something very different, and I think you're going to enjoy it. I certainly did, and that's all I'm going to say. It's a special edition episode for number 100, and it was with the help of a few people, a few of you out there listening, and suggestions of what to do for a special episode for number 100. So some of you have got an idea. Those that reached out to me and put forward some ideas, and I think you're going to love it. I certainly did. That's for sure. That's coming next week, so make sure you tune in. And also, there's another Keeper of the Greens coming before we finish up for the year that you're going to want to make sure you listen to. And I'll give you a sneak about who it is. It is none other than Director of Courses, Glenn Stewart from Peninsula Kingswood. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, when I travelled to Melbourne and I interviewed Richard Forsyth from Royal Melbourne for Keeper of the Greens, I also did a stopover to Peninsula Kingswood and recorded another episode of John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens with Glenn Stewart, Director of Courses there at PK. It is a fantastic interview. We had an absolute whale of a time, and I know that you're going to want to tune in for that one. That will be the last one to finish out the year. Then there's going to be a little break over the Christmas-New Year period, and then we'll pick it back up in the new year, once again with John Deere Golf and a lot of other episodes and segments along the way. Plenty of content coming out there. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you so much for your time, for your support, and taking the time out to listen. You enjoy your fantastic day, whatever time of the day it is, morning, afternoon, or evening. I'll leave you with it once again. You hit 'em clean, we'll keep 'em green, and I'll catch up with you next week.